I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. It begins!
Sky in their grasp. New Earth technology yields new Zoids gasp. Clad in silver and red armor they soar. Manta ray-shaped Zoids, the sinkers of war. Armed with laser cannons they seize the air. Give a Mach 1 speed, the sinkers will now dare. Metallic wings and engines for the sky. Cybernetic manta rays rise on high. Sink us, silver and red sky combat Zoids. Sink us, metallic manta ray-shaped droids. Sink us, laser guns and torpedoes fight. Sink us, sea and air masters empire might. Skies once the Republic domain in war. With sinkers, helic air control no more. Cybernetic manta rays soar and fire. Balance of power shifts to the Empire. But sinkers also contest ocean waves. Torpedoes and aqua jets fill sea graves. Sink Republic sea Zoids to sea chasms deep. With fishes on the ocean floor they sleep. Sink us, silver and red sky combat Zoids. Sink us, growing war ruled by new forms. Next generation Zoid androids, firestorms. Let fly the manta rays, silver and red. Seekers plunge the depths with empire dread. Sink us, silver and red sky combat Zoids. Sink us, metallic manta ray shaped droids. Sink us, laser guns and torpedo fight. Sink us, sea and air masters and biomite. Sink us, silver and red sky combat Zoids. Sink us, metallic manta ray shaped droids. Sink us, laser guns and torpedoes fight. Sink us, sea and air masters and biomite.
But the ways of destiny are strange indeed. Though it seems as though the Zoids must battle among themselves for all eternity, fate provides them with an escape in the shape of their deadliest foes, the Red Zoids. I remember how I, the Namer, last of the Zoidarians, stood witness over the birth of the Red Zoids. I was returning to Zoidstar. The Zoids under my command were in need of repairs and fuel. We never completed our journey. Our ship made a forced landing on Zoidstar's Blue Moon. I nearly perished in the crash. The Blue Moon was a world vastly different to Zoidstar. Cold, airless, uninhabited. To survive, the Zoids changed. Where the first Zoids were cold creatures of metal, the Zoids of the Blue Moon became adapted to their new environment. Their bodies now generated heat. Their blue shells became red, and these Zoids did not battle among themselves, but cast around in search of others to turn into creatures like themselves. Thus they became Red Zoids, terrible metal monsters whose only driving force was the defeat of the Blue Zoids and the destruction of all life in the galaxy.
Metallic terrors in the Zoidstar deep. The silver and red armored machines creep. Forged in manta ray form, these red Zoids rise. Sea rays under red horn with cruel red eyes. Hostile machines with burning hatred great. The sea rays seek and destroy blue Zoid bait. Those who do not submit to the red might will be blown to pieces on the sea night. Sea rays, metallic monster machines will. Sea rays, aggressive manta rays will skill. Sea rays, silver and red bodies so high. Sea rays, convert blue Zoids and make them die. Red mutants got that blue guardian, it's hard. Our planet Zoidstar, their war leads land star. Sea rays, silver and red bodies so high. Sea rays, convert blue Zoids or make them die. Red mutants attack blue guardians hard. On planet Zoidstar, their war leads land scarred. Sea rays plague the seas and skies with steel power. Red Zoids don't relent till the final hour. With laser guns and torpedoes they fight. Sea rays are fearless as red Zoid fly. But some fall on the crocs, mighty red wings. The red Zoid Prince of Darkness pulls the strings. Sea rays, metallic monster machines will. Sea rays, aggressive manta rays will skill. Sea rays, silver and red bodies so high. Sea rays, convert blue Zoids or make them die.
It is the never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight. I, the Namer,
last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.